Namo namas sarvebhyah. Greetings to all of you. Sanskrita bhasha shikshane bhavatam hardam swagatam. A heartfelt welcome to you all for Sanskrit learning. We will continue with the formation of the verbs. Saraswati namastubhyam varde kamarupani vidyarambham karishyami siddhir bhavatu me sada. Okay, I'm going to review the material which we covered in the last class, and which was the verbs, how the verbs are formed. So a root or a dhatuhu is the original form of the verb. The root is the basic element and indicates action. The 2200 roots, as defined by Panini, are compiled in a book called Dhatu Pathaha. The root can either start or end with a vowel or a consonant. For example, the root as starts with a vowel and ends with a consonant. The root as means to exist. And you have already seen the verb forms asti, he is, asi, you are, asmi, I am. So these are the singular forms. There are dual and plural forms also. So these are gender independent. It could be she is or it is. Then the another dhatu is bhu. It ends with a vowel long u. Bhu means to become. And after some sandhi rules, this bhu becomes bhava. So verb forms are bhavati, he becomes, or she becomes, or it becomes. Bhavasi, you become. Bhavami, I become, and so on. In Sanskrit, there are a number of irregular roots, like the root you have seen before, gam. Gam becomes gach, which means to go, and the verb form is gachati. The dhatu pa becomes pib, meaning to drink. Pibati, he, she, or it drinks. Then a prefix sometimes is added to the beginning of a root. It changes the meaning. For example, if you add the prefix a to the dhatu gam, the form is agachati. Gachati means to goes, and agachati means comes. So there are 22 such prefixes. Okay, in order to form verbs, one needs these 4 kinds of information. So let us go one by one. So we start at the root. The root are of 3 types. We'll just discuss in a second. And a root belongs to one of the 10 groups. The reason for this grouping is that roots belonging to a particular group behave in a same manner. And associated with each group is a group affix. And then you have, as in the name forms, you have verbal suffixes. And there are 18 of them. We'll discuss it in a moment. And then comes the action. When an action occurs, whether it is present, past, or future, or how is the action viewed? Is it a wish, request, advice, command, prohibition, and so on? This thing is not working. Okay. As we saw before, the name forms were formed as, like you added a nominal suffix to a nominal stem and you got a name form. The nominal stems were classified according to gender and the ending letter. And there were same 24 nominal suffixes which were added to the nominal stem. So this all we have covered. Now the verb forms are formed slightly different than the name forms. So in order to form a verb, one has to know what kind of the root it is, which the next slide will show. And then verbal suffix will change depending on the type of the root. And then you add a group affix. So here you didn't, but here this an additional group affix which is added. And then the verb form change across tenses and moods. There are 6 tenses and 4 moods, and there are 10 groups. Okay, so now we are going to discuss types of roots. So there are 3 types of roots. Every action in theory is potentially either self-directed or other-directed. So the first root type is called Parasmai Padi Dhatuhu. Parasmai means for others. So actions that are done for the benefit of others are described using Parasmai Padi roots. For example, the root nam, which means to bow down. One can bow down only to others, not to oneself. So the action is done for others. So nam is a Parasmai Padi dhatu. For example, Balaha Devam Namati. So Devam means God, Bala is boy, Namati. This is a Parasmai Pada form. The boy bows down to God. The next type of root is called Atmanepadi Dhatuhu, and it is represented by the uppercase A, and Parasmai Padi Dhatu is represented by a uppercase P. So Atmane means for oneself. So actions done for one's own benefit are described using Atmanepadi roots. For example, the root she means to sleep. If someone sleeps, he alone gets the benefit. So it is an Atmanepadi dhatu. For example, Balaha Shete. Now, Shete is an Atmanepada form. It is not like Sheti, Namat. So the verb forms differs, is different in when the dhatu is a Parasmai Padi dhatu or the dhatu is an Atmanepadi dhatu. So Balaha Shete means the boy sleeps or the boy is sleeping. Okay. The third type root is called Ubhay Padi dhatu, and it is represented by the uppercase U. Ubhay means both. So this dhatu can be both a Parasmai Padi and an Atmane Padi root. So actions that can be done for others or for oneself are described using Ubhay Padi roots. For example, the dhatu vap, which means to sow. So the farmer may be sowing seeds for his own field. Then it vap will be a Parasmai Padi dhatu. Sorry, it will be an Atmane Padi dhatu because he is doing for his own field. So Krishikaha Bijani Vapate. So this is an Atmane Pada form. Krishika is the farmer. Bija is the nominal stem, which means seed. Bijani is a plural, Dvivachanam plural. So vanam vane vanani, bijam bije bijani. So this is a plural. Or the farmer sows seeds for somebody else for whom he works. So here, vap will be a Parasmai Padi root. So Krishakaha Bijani Vapati. So this is a Parasmai Pada form, and Vapati and Vapate is an Atmane Pada form. So the dhatu Vap is classified as a Ubhay Padi dhatu. Another example of Ubhay Padi dhatu is dhatu pach, which means to cook. So the mother cooks rice for others, then pach will have a parasmai pada form. Mata odanam pachati. Odanam is rice. Then mother cooks rice for oneself. Then pach will have an atmanepada form. Mata odanam pachate. Okay, now let's take a root khad, which means to eat. Now in the dhatu pataha, this dhatu is classified as parasmai padi dhatu. But now the question arises, one eats for oneself or for others, right? So this is not very clear. So in many cases, this classification is clear, but not so clear in other cases. So one goes how the dhatu is listed in the dhatu patha, whether it is listed as a parasmai padi dhatu, atmane padi dhatu, or a ubhay padi dhatu. So now we are going to talk about the verbal suffixes. So as we saw when we were forming name forms, the suffixes, these 24 suffixes, were classified according to the vachanam. Ekavachanam, dvivachanam, and bahuvachanam. And there were 8 cases. In the verb forms, the suffixes are classified according to numbers also, like singular, dual, plural, but they are classified according to person, like who is performing the action. So the first is prathamaha purushaha, means the third person. So somebody else is doing the action. So which is called prathama purusha. There's a little confusion because prathama usually means first, but in English it is called the third person. Then it is madhyam purushaha, second person. You are doing the action, like you eat, you sit, or you two go. And uttama purushaha, or the first person, means I am doing the action. I eat, I sleep, or we go, we drink, and so on. So there are 9 verbal suffixes if the root for a parasmai padi dhatu. Now these suffixes will be different if the root is an atmane padi root. So that's how you get these 9 verbal suffixes. 18 verbal suffixes. 9 when the root is a parasmai padi root, and 9 when the root is an atmane padi root. So one more time, third person when the action is done by somebody else. He, she, it goes. Madhyama purusha is used when you are doing the action, or uttama purusha is used when I am doing the action. Okay, so verbal suffixes are 18 in number, and they are divided in 2 groups, as I explained in the previous slide. The first set of 9 suffixes are called parasmai pada, and the second set of 9 suffixes are called atmane pada. Verbal suffixes are called ting pratyayas, like the nominal suffixes were called sup pratyayas, if you recall. So these are these pratyayas. I'm not going to read them because you don't need to remember them. The reason they are called ting pratyayas because they start with ti. Pa is an indicatory variable, and which it is an indicatory letter which disappears. So it starts with ti, ends with ng. So ting. That's the reason these 18 suffixes are called ting pratyayas. So the third group of information, information is you need in forming the verbs is the group affixes. So a root belongs to one of the 10 groups, and these groups are called ganaha. The reason, as I mentioned before, of this grouping is that the roots all the roots in a specific group behave the same way. So these are your 10 ganas, and they have the name. For example, the first group or the first gana is called Bhavadi Ganaha, and it is named after the first root into that group, which are about 1,000 plus roots are in the first Ganaha. Bhu is the first root, and you add Adi means etc. So Bhu plus other roots, and then there is a Sandhi, and that's how the name Bhavadi. And the Gana affix is A. The second Gana is Adadi. Ada plus Adi. So the first root in this Gana is Ad, which means to eat. So in these classes, we are only going to cover the roots from the first, fourth, sixth, and 10th groups. The first Gana or the group have about 1,000 plus roots, fourth have 140, sixth 157, and 10th 440. So by studying these 4 groups, you cover almost, like that total of 2,200 roots. So you cover most of the roots. We are also going to study 2 additional roots, one from the Adadi Gana, which is the root As, which means to exist. Another root Kra from the 8th group, the Tanadi Gana, where the Dhatu Kra means to do. Okay, so for example, the root Pat is a Parasmai Padi Dhatuhu, and it is represented by the letter P, and it belongs to the first group. In dictionaries, etc., Pat is usually written as Pat with 1 P in the parentheses. 1 means the group it belongs to. Here, Pat belongs to group 1, and so it is the number 1. And P or A or U will represent what type of the root it is. So let us summarize how the verbs are formed. So you need to know the root, type of the root, whether it is a P, A, or U, a Parasmaipadi, Atmanepadi, or a Ubhayapadi. Then verbal suffixes will change with the type of the root, as we saw. And then you add a group suffix, and then the verb is formed. So verb forms change across the 10 tenses and the moods. So these 3 we have already discussed, and now in the next slide we are going to discuss the tenses and the moods. So in Sanskrit, the tenses and the moods are called lakaraha. So for example, the present tense is called lat lakaraha. And for example, the form will be gachati if you use the root gam, which means he goes or he is going. Then there are 3 kinds of past tense, and we are going to study only the simple past tense. For example, agachat means he went. In Gita, you see Arjunaha uvacha. So uvacha is in a lit lakaraha. Then there are 2 kinds of future tenses. For example, lut lakaraha is rarely seen, and rit lakara is gamishyati, he will go. We are not going to study future tenses. Then there are 4 moods. Imperative mood, which is called lot lakaraha, gachatu, let him go, or may he go. Then vidhiling lakaraha, it is gachet, he should go. So these moods, these 2, lot lakaraha and vidhiling lakara, are used for a command or a wish or an advice or so on. Ashilinga lakara and ring lakara we are not going to study. So let us take this verse from the Swasti Patha, which you all know. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinaha Sarve Santu Niramayaha Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kashit Dukh Bhag Bhavet. So here in this verse, you see the use of lot and vidhiling lakara. Bhavantu is a lot lakara verb form. May all be happy. So there is a wish. May all be happy. So in those cases where there is a wish or an advice, then you use lot lakara. Sarve santu niramayaha. Again, santu is a lot lakara form. May all be free from illness. Sarve bhadrani pashyantu. Pashyantu again is a lot lagara verb form. May all see what is auspicious. Pashyantu is, the root is drish, which means to see. Ma kashchit dukh bhag bhavet. Bhavet is a vidhiling. May none experience sorrow. Ma kashchit means none. May none experience sorrow. All right. This is a very, very important slide, so I want you to pay a little bit more attention to it. So now we are going to talk about parasmay pada suffixes in the present tense. So these are the original suffixes, right? Tip, tas, ji, sip, tas, tha, mip, was, mas. In the present tense, these verbal suffixes simplify to these 9 suffixes. Ti, tah, anti, si, tah, tha, mi, vah, mah. So this is in the present tense. Let's say if you had a past tense, then these suffixes will simplify to some other forms, or in lot lakara, it will be a different form. So now let us just concentrate on the present tense. So in the present tense, the original verbal suffixes simplify to these suffixes. So in order to form a verb form, these 9 verb forms, what we do? We take the dhatu pat. Pat is a 1p, meaning it belongs to the group 1 or the bhavadi gana. It is a parasmay padi dhatu. So we are going to add the parasmay pada suffixes. And since it belonged to group 1, the group affix was a. So you had the dhatu patha, you add the group affix a, and then we are going to add these 9 suffixes to get the 9 verb forms in 3 numbers and 3 persons. So let us go one by one. Now suppose you want to form a verb form in a 3rd person singular, then you will add the suffix ti. So patha plus a plus ti. Now tha, this vowel a, is following this consonant tha. So tha plus a becomes tha. So the form is pathati. So this is the pathati. So this means he, she, or it reads, or he, she, or it is reading. Now, if you want to form a 3rd person dual, you will add the suffix tah. So patha plus a plus tah is pathatah, meaning they too read. Or it could be masculine, feminine, or neuter. Now suppose you want to form a 3rd person plural, then you will add anti to it. Now here in this case a rule comes in, because if you add patha plus a plus anti, this a and a should become a long a and it should be pathanti, right? Like there will be a vowel sandhi here. This a and this a will become a long a, and the form should be pathanti. But the rule says that this a is dropped. So patha plus a plus anti, instead of pathanti, it is pathanti. So pathanti means they read. Now come, if you want to form the verb forms for the second person, singular, dual, and plural, you will add si, tha, and tha. So pathasi, pathatah, pathata here. So you read, you two read, you all read, right? Now, another rule will be applied when we were forming the first person singular, dual, and plural form. So let us see this one. Patha plus a and me. So it should be pathami, right? Pathati, pathasi, it should be pathami. But the rule says that this a becomes dirgha. So instead of pathami, you have pathami. So pathami means I read. You will have patavaha. Instead of patava, you have patavaha, pathamaha. I read, we two read, we all read. So in forming this parasmay padi verb forms in present tense, lat lakara, two rules come into play. First one is this one, and the second one is when the becomes dirgha. Okay, so this is called a conjugation table. Like in the name forms, you had a declension table. In verb forms, this is called a conjugation table. So this is a conjugation table of the dhatu patha, which is a parasmay padi dhatu. It belongs to the group 1. And it is, the conjugation is in present tense lat lakara. These forms will be different in different tenses and moods. So I'm going to go through this one more time. Pathati, he, she, or it reads. Pathatah, they too read. Pathanti, they all read. And this is gender independent. Like, right, it could be he, masculine, feminine, or neuter. Pathasi, you read. Pathatah, you too read. Pathata, you all read. Pathami, I read. Pathavaha, we too read. Pathamaha, we all read. So one more time. Pathati, pathatah, pathanti. Pathasi, pathatah, pathatah. Pathami, pathavaha, pathamaha. So all parasmay dhatus in the first gana or in the first group will conjugate like patha. So there were, as you recall, there were 1,000 plus dhatus in the first gana, and I think, I don't remember the exact number, there are about 700 dhatus which are parasmay padi dhatus. So they will have the same form as the dhatu pat. For example, the dhatu pat, this is also a 1p dhatu, like first group parasmay padi, and it means to fall. So the forms will be exactly the same as the of dhatu patha. Patati, patatah, patanti, patasi, patatah, patatha, patami, patava, patamaha. Same with dhatu khad, which is also a 1p, which means to eat. Khadati, khadatah, khadanti, khadasi, khadatah, khadata, khadami, khadavah, khadamah. Now the dhatu dhav. In the previous class, I said that this is a parasmay padi dhatu. I looked into the dhatu patha, and I found that this is a ubhayapadi dhatu. So you should correct that. So dhava is a ubhayapadi dhatu, and the parasmay pada forms are dhavati, dhavatah, dhavanti, dhavasi, dhavatah, dhavat, dhavami, dhavavah, dhavamah. This should be very clear to you, and I hope it is. Okay. The other important thing is that the verb must agree with the subject in number. So for, let's say, a masculine ending nominal stem, let's say balah. So you have in the prathama vibhakti balah, balau, balaha. One boy, two boys, three boys, many boys. So the verb form should agree with the number. So gachati, gachatah, gachanti. So balah gachati, the boy goes. Balau gachatah, two boys go. Balah, balaha gachanti, many boys go. Now let's take the neuter ending nominal stem phala. Phalam, phale, phalani, like vanam, vane, vanani. So phalam patati, phalam vrikshat. This is a panchami. So from the tree, a fruit falls from the tree. So this is ekavachanam. Both are ekavachanam. Phalam is ekavachanam and patati is ekavachanam. Phale vrikshat patatah. Patatah is dvivachanam. Phale is also dvivachanam. Two fruits fall from the tree. Phalani vrikshat patanti. So this is bahuvachanam, and the verb is also in bahuvachanam. Fruits fall from the tree. So phalam, phale, phalani, patati, patatah, patanti. Now let's take the feminine ending nominal stem. Balika, balike, balikaha. One girl, two girls, many girls. So the verb also should be in the same number, singular, dual, and plural. Balika khadati, the girl eats. Balike khadatah, two girls eat. Balikaha khadanti, girls eat. Now let us take the masculine E ending nominal stem, which is muni, right? Muni ends in E. So munihi, one sage. Muni, two sages. Munayaha, many sages. So what's the dhatu once means live. So munihi ashrame vasati. The sage or a sage lives in the ashram. Ashrama. Ashrame is the seventh case locative, right? So a sage lives in the ashrama. Muni ashrame vasatah, dual form. So two sages live in the ashrama. Munayah, this is a bahuvachanam. Ashrame vasanti. Vasanti also is a bahuvachanam. Sages live, sorry, this is a mistake, live in the ashrama. Now, a masculine u ending nominal stem, like guru. So shishu, shishu means a baby. So shishu will also decline like guru. Shishuhu, one baby. Shishu, two babies. Shishvaha, many babies. So creed is the root, which means play. Shishuhu grahe kridati. The baby plays in the house. So shishuhu and kridati. This is singular and this is singular. Shishu grahe kridatah. So 2 babies play in the house. So again, this is dual, and this is the verb form is also dual. Shishvaha grahe kridanti. This is plural, so the verb form has to be plural. Babies play in the house. Okay, so now we are going to do the Atmanepada suffixes in the present tense, lat lakara. I'm giving this here just for completeness. For now, you don't have to really know this, but you just need to know or at the final form. So the Atmanepada suffixes were these, and they also simplify to this form. So, for example, the dhatu labh. Labh means to obtain. This also belongs to the group 1, and it is an Atmanepadi dhatu. Since it belongs to the group 1, the group affix is a. So it's the same like Patha dhatu. The only difference is that labh is an Atmanepadi dhatu. So to this dhatu labh, you add the group affix, and then you add the simplified version, simplified verbal suffixes, right? And then you get these forms: labhate, labhete, labhante, labhase, labhethe, labadhve, labhe, labhavahe, labhamahe. Means he, she, or it obtains, they too obtain, they all obtain, you obtain, I obtain, and so on. And the derivation of these forms are more or less the same as the Patha dhatu. I'm not going to go through this. So this is a conjugation table of an Atmanepadi dhatu, which belongs to the group 1, and it is the conjugation is in the present tense. So, labhate and so on. So all Atmanepadi dhatus in the first group will conjugate like dhatu lab. And there are approximately, I think, 300 or so Atmanepadi dhatus in the first group. The dhatu vand, which is an Atmanepadi dhatu, which means to salute or to praise, will conjugate exactly like the dhatu lab. Or dhatu kamp, which means to tremble, also conjugates like the dhatu lab. Just a few examples. Here also, the subject and the verb should agree in number. For example, balakaha phalam labhate. So labhate is a singular, ekavachanam. Balakaha is ekavachanam. So the boy obtains a fruit. Balakau, 2 boys. Phale, 2 fruits. Labhete. So this is the third person dual form. So 2 boys obtain 2 fruits. Balakaha phalani labhante. Boys obtain fruits. So this is singular, the verb form is singular. This is dual, the verb form is dual. This is plural, the verb form is plural. So balakaha, balakau, balakaha, labhate, labhete, labhante. Another example, Shitakale kampase. So this is the Madhyama Purusha Ekavachanam. You tremble in winter. Or Vidyalaye Adhyapakam Seve. The root is Seva. It is an Atmanepadi root. So I serve the teacher in school. Okay, so this slide shows how the verb form changes across present, past, across tenses and moods. So as you see, the Parasmaipadi dhatu pat, how the form changes across the tenses and moods. And same with the Atmanepadi dhatu, how it changes. So for now, this is the form which you all should know by now. Pathati, patata, pathanti. Okay, I'm going to just cover one root from a second group, which is the root us, right? So us means to exist. So the dhatu us belongs to the second group, and it is the reason I'm covering this is because this is an important root, and you see its use all the time. So us belongs to the group 2. It is a parasmaipadi dhatu, means to exist. Now, this you could consider as a black box, like you don't need to, you just need to know the final forms. You don't need to know the rules or anything. Now, the second group doesn't have any affix. It doesn't have a group affix. And then there are some complicated grammar rules here. So if you take the dhatu as, it goes through this black box, and this is the final form. So you have seen asti, asi, asmi, and then in Dvivachanam it is staha, santi, staha, stha, swa, sma. Since this is very commonly used verb forms, I'm going to go through few examples illustrating the use of these verb forms. So bala atra asti. Bala is the girl. So the girl, atra means here. Asti is, the girl is here. So the use of this one, the third person singular. So now there is a sandhi here. There's two sandhis. The vowel long a and becomes long. Of tra and of asti becomes long. So it becomes, after sandhi, this will be bala trasti, right? Now let's look at the use of this form, bahuvachanam, santi. Phalani kandile santi. Phalani is bahuvachanam, like fruits. So the verb has to be bahuvachanam. So phalani santi, the fruits are. Phalani santi, the fruits are. Where are the fruits? Kandile. Kandila means basket. This is the seventh case, ekavachanam. So there are fruits in the basket, or fruits are in the basket. Santi. Now let's look at the use of asi. Tvam adya kutra asi. Tvam, you. Tvam asi, you are. Kutra is an indeclinable where you are. Adya means now. So where are you now? Asi, because it is in Madhyama Purusha. So here is following ma, so this will become a ma, right? A vowel is following a consonant. And here there is a sandhi. Of tra and of asi become a long a. So tvam and adya will be tvamadya, and this will be kutrasi. So tvamadya kutrasi, where are you now? This is again an indeclinable. Now we'll see the use of asmi. Chikitsika asmi. Asmi means I am. I am a female doctor. Now I just want to show you the use of sma. Sma means we are, right? Sma means we are, or this means we too are. So we are. Sma, we are. Adhyapika ha sma. We are teachers. Grame, in the village. Sarve, all. We all are teachers in the village. Grame, sarve, adhyapikaha, sma. Sma is we are. Okay. In Sanskrit, there are three types of voices. So they are the active voice. We are, all the examples we have, like I have given so far, are all in active voice. Like a boy reads a book. Balaha pustakam pathat. You all know this by now. But then there is also a passive voice, means a book is read by the boy. In Sanskrit, passive voice are used also quite commonly. So active voice are called kartari priyogaha, means who is the karta? Balaha, the boy is the karta. And the verb is related to this boy. Balaha pathati. The boy is doing the job, right? He is the karta. And what is he reading? The boy is reading. What is he reading? Pustakam. So this is the object. So balaha pathat is a kartari priyogaha, right? Then in the passive voice, the pustakam, which was your object, becomes your subject now. So the book becomes your subject, right? A book is read by the boy. So pustakam becomes what was this object becomes your subject. So this is called a karmani priyogaha. So, and this which was the subject here is always put into the third vibhakti, by the boy, balena, pustakam balena, and the verb form changes, pathyate. This is just an introduction, and we will go into much more detail. So you should just know that there are voices like active voice, passive voice, and passive impersonal. Okay, so we are going to do an analysis again of a very famous verse from Bhagavad Gita. This is verse number 23 from chapter 2. Nainam chindanti shastrani, nainam dahati pavakaha, na chainam kledayantyapaha, na shoshayati marutaha. So let's do the Sandhi Vicheda. Nainam. This is composed of two words. Na enam. There's a vowel Sandhi here, which we'll study later. So nainam is na enam. Chindanti. This is a verb form in a plural. Like it's a bahuvachanam, third person form. Shastrani, because your subject is bahuvachanam. Shastra, shastrani, vanam, vane, vanani. Here, na changes to ana, which we'll again discuss later. So, shastrani chindanti. These both are in plural form. Nainam, again, na enam. Dahati pavakaha. Dahati is a verb form, and this is dahati pavakaha. This is in singular. Pavaka is singular, so you have the verb form also in ekavachanam. Na chainam, again the same vowel sandhi, here it is, chaenam. This is composed of two verb forms. There is a visarga sandhi here. Kledayanti, this is a verb form. It is a bahuvachanam. And here this is a visarga, and which becomes an O here. Apaha. This is a bahuvachanam form. You will think that this is an ekvachanam like Rama. No, this is a bahuvachanam form. And na shoshayati marutaha. This is marutaha is ekavachanam, and shoshayati is also ekavachanam. So na enam. Enam means this. Here it is referring to self. Nainam. Chaenam, chainam, kledayanti apaha. There is a sandhi, vowel sandhi going on here. So this becomes kledayanti apaha. So here, chindanti means cut. The root is chid. It belongs to the seventh group, and it is an ubhayapadi dhatu, which means to cut. So nainam chindanti shastrani, weapons. Shastrani, weapons. nainam. Na was the means not, do not cut this, self, right? Then dahati is a verb, burn. The root is daha. This is a 1p. So this will conjugate like pat dhatu, to burn. Nainam dahati pavakah. Pavaka is fire. So nor does fire burn it. Kledayanti is a verb which means wet. The dhatu is klit. This is a fourth group, parasmaipadi dhatu, to wet. Na chainam kledayanti apah. That is what apah, the nominal stem is up. It is a feminine nominal stem. So apah is a bahuvachanam. Water does not wet or drown it. Then shoshayati, the verb form means dry. The dhatu is shush, belonging to the fourth group. It is a parasmaipadi dhatu, meaning to dry. Na shoshayati marutah, and the wind does not dry it. So this completes the brief introduction to the formation of the verb forms. And these verb forms are called kriyapadam or tigantam, the words which end in a ting pratyaya. We have already completed the brief introduction to the formation of the name forms, which were namapadam or subantam. So by now, you should know the declensions of the masculine nominal stems ending in a, I, U, like Rama, Muni, Guru. The neuter nominal stem ending in a, like Vana, Phala, and so on. And feminine nominal stem ending in a, Sita, Balika, at least in the first two cases, and their use. You should also know the conjugations of the parasmaipadi dhatu in group 1, like dhatu patha in the present tense and its use. So we have covered these two blocks, the nam padas and the kriya padas. In the next class, we're going to talk about the other blocks. Okay, so this ends, like now we'll go and see, answer some questions. Let me see what is in the chat. Yeah, why is vandate atmane padidhatu? Right. As I said before, this distinction is not very clear. Like same with the root khad, why it is a parasmai padidhatu. You don't eat for others. So one has to just go what is in the dhatu pata. The suffixes for the verbs don't seem to change with au.
I meant to say a, u, or e ending.
There is no, in word suffixes, there is no a, e, u. There is no nominal stem. You are dealing with roots.
No, I know, but the verb suffixes match, at least in the vachanam, in the singular, plural,
right.
and
right.
But they don't seem to, like ti, taha, anti, sa, tha, tha, they don't change whether the nominal stem is an u ending.
No, they don't. They are gender independent. They are gender independent. Doesn't matter in which, they just need to agree with the number of the what the number of the subject is.
Not only are they gender independent, they're also independent of whether the nominal stem is an a ending or e ending.
Yeah, right. No, it doesn't depend on the nominal stem at all. It only depends on what you're like muni. So muni, like muni gachati. So it doesn't depend whether, or it's shishu gachati. It doesn't depend whether it is a masculine or u or e ending.
Yeah, okay.
Kumuji.
Yes.
Yeah, I was not here in last Wednesday.
Right.
So I just need to review the last class PDF, right? And do the homework.
Well, whatever was done in the last class, I kind of did everything today.
Okay,
So
okay.
there was nothing extra in the last class which I didn't cover. It was more or less repetition of the last class plus a few more additional slides.
Okay. And next class also I won't be able to join because I'm traveling. So yeah. Okay, just.
So
Like
Kumuji,
I always review, so if you miss a
Okay.
class, it's always like I kind of go over the class, again.
Mm-hmm.
So
Okay.
it doesn't matter.
Yeah, thank you.
So Kumuchi, I asked the question that if a boy eats 2 fruits, then what changes?
If then only your object changes. The word will not change.
Okay.
So like if you say Balaha phalam khadati, right? So the boy eats one fruit. Now let's say you say the boy eats many fruits. So Bala and khadati won't change. Only the object instead of phalam, it will be phalani.
Okay, thank you.
That will change when you come to the passive voice.
Okay.
Anyway, don't worry about that. But,
okay, thank you.
So Kumuji, I wasn't able to do the homework from the last week's. The homework this week is the same, is it?
It's the same, yeah. Like there was nothing except for Atmane Pada, and also for now I will not, I don't want you to go and get more confused with the Atmane Pada conjugations. Like if you know the Parasmai Pada conjugations, that's good enough. Like that we will discuss when we discuss verb forms in detail. So it will be just a repetition. If you want to do it, it's fine. If you want to skip it, that's fine too.
So the homework posted for last week's class we can do, and this week's class is different homework or same homework?
No, it's a different homework. It's just the idea is the same, but it is just a different, like to give you just more, anybody who wants more practice.
Okay, thank you.
There's nothing new.
Mm-hmm.
Which will be in this week's homework. It will just be, more exercises, more the same thing.
Okay, thank you.
Kumuji, there's another question in the chat.
Beg your pardon?
There's another question in the chat for you.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I don't see it. What happens when a boy eats 2 fruits? This I did. Okay. Homework in part 2. Where does Rama go? Vanam can be case Vanam. Where does ablative will be Vanat, right? From the forest. Right? Like the ablative is the 5th case. Right? Raj is asking the question.
Yeah, so I was looking at the declension for Vanam.
Yes.
And I see Vanam for case 1 singular and Vanam for case 2 singular.
Oh, so okay. So instead of ablative, it should be the accusative. Case 2. Okay, sorry.
Okay.
Okay, all right. So I got confused here. Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah, so it is Vanam Vane Vanani, Vanam Vane Vanani. Like the declension is the same. So where does Rama go?
So the answer is Vanam, but then Vanam can be case 1 singular or case 2 singular. It can be either.
It will be case 1, like where does to the forest? Okay. Goodbye,
Yeah.
just look at this. I will reply to you. I need to understand what you're asking.
So the answer says case 2 singular in the answer.
Okay, let me then go to the homework. Let me this thing, job share. I have the homework file here. Let me share that one. No. Here. So okay, here is the file. Okay. This is question number.
So answer to 1, where does Rama go? Forest.
Is this the additional thing?
Yeah, additional thing.
Okay.
Additional thing,
Who goes? Okay. Where does Rama go? Okay. So,
Vanam.
yeah, so this will be Dutiya Vachanam, case 2 accusative.
Yes. So you're talking Ramaha,
Right.
and then Vanam, which can be case 1 or 2. So can you tell me how you
Yeah,
decided?
that depends on the, suppose, let's say for example, you had, Vanam is not a good example. Let's say Phala, right? So Phalam Phale Phalani, Phalam Phale Phalani, right? So
Yeah.
now if you have a sentence, Rama eats a fruit, right? So Ramaha Phalam Khadati, right? So now here, what does Rama eat? He eats a fruit. So this will be, phalam will be the dutiya case, second case, right? Now if you say phalam asti, the fruit is here, right? So the fruit is, or the fruit is here. Then the fruit will be in the prathama vibhakti, because now it becomes the subject.
Okay. So
It depends on the context of the center, whether it is a subject or it is the object. If you say Madhuram,
okay.
or you say Sundaram Vanam, right? Sundaram Vanam Asti, the forest is pretty, right? So then the Vanam will be in Prathama Vibhakti. But if you say Rama Balaha Vanam Gachati, then Vanam will be in Dutiya Vibhakti.
Okay. So object being here.
Here it is the object, but
Yeah.
suppose your sentence was Vanam Asti, or the Vanam Atra Asti, the forest is here. Then Vanam will be your subject and it will be in Prathama Vibhakti.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Any more questions on the homework? I have the homework file open here right now. Oh, there's a chat.
Question 4.
Okay. Question. What happened? Question 4. You
Yeah.
are a female teacher.
Yeah, because okay.
Which one? There was an error here, which I think I forgot to correct it. I think this. Which one, Lichi? Which question is this one? Question 4. I don't see that.
Question 3.
Question 3.
Yeah, number 4. Dwam Adya Pika Asti.
Adhyapika Asti. Yeah, that
Yeah,
was a typo error. It should be a female teacher.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
Yeah, Adhyapaka is a male and Adhyapika is an A ending female teacher. Yeah, Rani mentioned that. I forgot to correct that.
Yeah.
That's a typo error.
Boy with 2 books. Okay.
Lichi, you read that very well. Tvamadhyapika asti.
Oh, really? I'm still not very, I think the action part is kind of hard for me. Okay, I think I guess that's it.
Okay. All right. I think if there are no more questions, we will.
Thank you.
Thank
Okay.
you, Kumaji.
Bye.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.
Namaskar.
Namaste. Good night. Shubh Ratri.